Explain like I'm 5. Why is the grip of infants so strong if naturally they should be weak? Curious as to how babies have such a strong grip on things they get their hands on even at such a young age. Other infant apes have to have a strong enough grip to hold on to their mothers while they climb and jump through the trees. It was necessary for survival. Human infants still retain some of this grip strength. Fun fact, most babies can quite literally hang from a bar from an extremely young age, but they lose this ability as they age. What do you mean they lose the ability? Like a certain age-range child can't hang from a bar. Obviously, they would get the ability back at some point with all the monkey bars and arm hanging tests in gym class. They're weak, not from lacking muscle, but from lacking coordination to use that muscle effectively. But since gripping hands is an evolutionary development, explained well enough in another comment, the neurons to do that are established without practicing the moments, the equivalent of working out. Everyone is forgetting a psychological factor here. They feel strong, because when you try to remove them, you're obviously trying delicately and not with your full force. It's the same as it feels like your pets are quite strong when they grip down on something. You could super easily fling your cat through the room, but obviously don't want to hurt it. Explain like I'm 5. Why is it so easy to overwater a plant, but sticking the roots directly underwater is how you propagate it? Title? It's just funny to me how cautious I am not to overwater my plants when in soil. But if I cut a piece of a plant and stick it in 100% water, it thrives. Wouldn't the roots being literally underwater be overwatered as well? I'm no biologist-botanist. Plants need water and a lot of water. But when you overwater a plant, bacteria, fungi in the soil also grow. Rotting happens when things decay, and things decay when bacteria eats at it. Also, roots need oxygen from water. When we put the plant underwater, we often change the water to prevent algae buildup, but also replenishes the oxygen in the water as well. This is why when it's dry, I water my potatoes every 3rd day, but everything else every 2nd day. Why? My potatoes get powdery scab if watered every 2nd day. Took a few seasons to figure that out. I'm going to paraphrase one of the best explanations I've seen on this subreddit from this thread that asked the same thing. Basically, overwatering isn't about how much you water, it's about how frequently you water. This is why, even after heavy thunderstorms and floods, plants can survive despite literally being inundated as long as they can thoroughly dry afterwards. When you water too often, though, the soil always stays damp, and bacteria and fungi start to set in because they thrive in humid conditions and grow around the roots of plants, suffocating and ultimately killing them. Plants grown hydroponically don't have this issue because very few pathogens can survive in just water. Also regarding hydroponics, they use an air pump to oxygenate the water, which actually provides oxygen at a faster rate to the roots, contributing to the overall yield density of hydroponics. Though keeping microbes out of the water is vitally important, the roots can still rot if they begin outsizing the pot they're in, as the roots suffocate themselves. Plants have something called totipotency. Any plant cell has the genetic information to make any plant cell. So to propagate a plant, you usually cut its stem and put it in water, as you say. This does 2 things. 1, it stops the cutting dying. It just lost its roots and can't drink very well. So this makes it easy. The water also tells the bottom of the stem it's good to grow roots. Because it's just water, it's a zero oxygen environment. This prevents root rot, because the bacteria and fungi and viruses that cause rot need some oxygen. Overwatering soil creates a low oxygen environment. That's perfect for rot. The plant is probably in a more advanced stage, and overwatering can leach the soil of nutrients. If you get water and add nutrients and grow in that instead of soil, that's hydroponics. TDAR. Things don't rot when in water, they rot when they are wet. Because it's just water, it's a zero oxygen environment. This prevents root rot, because the bacteria and fungi and viruses that cause rot need some oxygen. Overwatering soil creates a low oxygen environment. That's perfect for rot. The plant is probably in a more advanced stage, and overwatering can leach the soil of nutrients. This is almost entirely false. Pure water is fairly well oxygenated. Waterlogged soil has lower oxygen levels than pure water. Roots die in waterlogged soil because the cells of the plant can't get oxygen. Rot happens after the roots sicken or die. Many decomposing bacteria don't actually need oxygen. Explain like I'm 5. Why are those long in-app game ads always misleading, showing a completely different game than what it actually is? Why would a company choose, marketing-wise, to put money and effort into an ad that doesn't represent its product at all? Making a game that's actually fun is hard and expensive. Making tons of ads that use simple psychological tricks to get curious users to click is easy and cheap. All you need is to get enough users to download the app, no matter how crappy it is. And then there are numerous ways to make money, including serving them more ads in the app, baiting them to make in-app purchases, or in more insidious cases, collecting user data to sell, or even trying to serve you malware. I'm sure there are other ways of turning a profit that I'm not thinking of. The profit may lay mainly in marketing. The advertising company can point to lots of downloads, and when the other metrics show low engagement, it must be the game's fault. The ad company has met their goals, and what comes after doesn't matter to them. I highly doubt that a marketing company does need to provide reports and metrics such as ROAS exist. If the client is extremely inept, it can work, but those that make these games are usually not. They know exactly what they are doing. Also, most do their own marketing. To increase the number of people that download their games, simply put, mobile game studios make a lot of interesting and catchy ad videos, and depending how well they do, they make more of it. It doesn't matter if it is not the actual game, as long as it gets them downloads. Some of those downloads will become regular users. Isn't that false advertising? Most of the time, yes it is, but the market is so saturated, nobody really gives a shit. Sometimes they put small sections into the game that resembles the ad for that reason, but it still is not the main gameplay. Regardless, when it comes to the mobile game ads, it is a lawless place. Children download the app and allow whatever permissions it asks for, then they never uninstall it. Like I'm 5. How does it only take a year or so to understand our first language, but it's so much harder to acquire another language? Like, we have a frame of reference, first language, so why is it so hard to learn another language after that? If you spend every waking moment for 3 years straight in a total language immersion course, including one or more personal tutors, who will spend hours a day working with you on everything from basic sounds to sentence structure, you'll be able to speak that language pretty damn well. This is the environment most people learn their first language in. It's a lot of work, but they have few responsibilities distracting them from it. Love this description of the chaos my toddler is causing right now. I will keep my sanity if I think of it as an immersion course. Not just a language immersion course, but a life immersion course. Nope, dirt is not edible. Yes, we do try vegetables at every meal every day. No, we do not hit when we are angry. Yes, we share? No, don't touch that, it's hot. Yes, we take both our shoes off and place them here. There's been a lot of study on this in linguistics and some incidental and horrific experimentation performed on this. Like a child who's been locked in an attic for the entirety of their life by their parents and discovered by the authorities when they're 12. The parents never spoke to the child, and that person lived out the rest of their life without any language. They could make sounds, but nothing intelligible. Another child, lost in the forest and raised by wolves, is recovered at the age of 6 and quickly picks up a full language's grammar and lexicon. So there's real-world empirical evidence to support these theories of language acquisition, though not traditional experimentation, because that would be monstrously immoral. There is other stuff too, like a Caucasian kid brought up amongst the Thine. Xhosa can readily produce the click phonemes that make up Xhosa speech, but an 18-year-old brought into the society has trouble with them. The real interesting mechanic is the shift in structure from a pidgin to a Creole speech. Pidgin dialects are created when groups of people who don't speak each other's languages are forced to coexist, typically slave situations, where really different lineages are brought together and forced to create a common language to communicate in. Pidgins will build a lexicon from whatever words the speakers agree upon, some from the slave owners, some from the slaves. But the grammar will be very basic, with limited tenses and an inability to convey complex ideas. But pidgins evolve into Creoles by the second generation that is brought up in these cultures. So the children of the initial pidgin speakers grow up using the pidgin, but very quickly establish more complex grammar rules than their parents' speech, seemingly spontaneously. And the grammar constructs can be brilliantly precise. I've been done that sounds wrong to an English speaker, but to a Creole speaker from the southern US, it expresses a very specific time frame that the source code does not have. What this suggests is that the architecture for language exists inherently in a young human's developing brain, and if thrust into a situation where the necessary degree of grammatic complexity does not exist, prepubescent humans will spontaneously create more complex grammars as they need. Any language I've learned for a year, I will put my fluency against any 1-year-old native speaker. They might understand considerably more words than me, but I can tell jokes, form thoughts, make small talk, and say what noises animals make, better than any fucking baby you throw at me. The brain starts growing myelin. The native speaker kid is going to win every time over all but the most dedicated adult polyglots. But your title is phrased in a way that made me imagine doing a rap battle against a French baby. Well, that's another episode of Explain Like I'm 5 in the books. I really appreciate all of you who made it this far into the video. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, it would really help the channel out a lot if you gave the video a thumbs up, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.